Friends, now it's time for our keynote speeches. I'm so excited to hear from someone who is Senior Strategy Advisor of not one, but two MNCs, Zydus Group and Jubilant Group. A person deeply connected with the startup ecosystem and actively engaged as a board of member as well as mentor at CIIE, at IMA, as well as at the NID incubator in Ahmedabad. He has been awarded the top 100 eminent people of Gujarat. He is a founding curator on the World Economic Forum's Global Shapers Initiative, chairman of PAN IIT Alumni Gujarat Association. Sir, please enlighten us with your wisdom and insight. Shri Sunil Parekh.
Friends, it's a pleasure to be here and an honor to be amongst all of you. I want to begin by thanking Shri Sunil Shuklaji and Shraddha for having invited me to come and join and spend 15 minutes with you. I've known Shuklaji for over 20 years now. And one thing that I really admire about him is his exceptionally inclusive leadership. I also want to place on record the wonderful work done by Shraddha and Palak as institution builders and as organizers of the program. I also would like to welcome all the distinguished alumni that have joined us. I think there are 76 now currently on the website. Other friends of EDI, Professor Satya, faculty, senior faculty of EDI, and I also see my friend Professor Piyush Sinha also attending the session. So welcome all of you. Shraddha has given me two topics to cover, roughly 7-8 minutes each. The first is about entrepreneurial ecosystem in India, and second is about what EDI can do about the alumni network and how to breathe life into it and make it a meaningful force. So let me begin with the first theme first, that is the entrepreneurial ecosystem of India. Any ecosystem of a country is measured against 5 yardsticks. The first is number of startups. The second is the number of unicorns. The third measure is what is the total quantum of funding in a year. The fourth yardstick is how many corporates are now involved with the startup ecosystem. And the fifth one is it a geographically distributed system or is it concentrated only in tier 1 or only tier 1 cities? So let me begin by describing the ecosystem in India in the 5 categories. India has about 38,000 registered startups in India. Unfortunately, 15% of them approximately closed down during the pandemic, leaving about 32,000 who are now doing well. And this number is growing at the rate of about between 17 to 18% per year. The second yardstick is the number of unicorns. The total number of unicorns today are at 33, out of which the amazing thing that has happened is that 12 out of these 33 were actually created during the pandemic year 2020 itself. And 2 additional unicorns have been created in the first 2 months, January and February of 2021. We are the world's 3rd largest in terms of the number of unicorns in a country. The third yardstick is how much funding did we get? We are 4th in the world today in terms of funding. We normally receive between 11 and 12 billion dollars per year for our startups. And this year, the unique feature is that more than 100 startups have received funding over $50 million each. The fourth yardstick is how many corporates are deeply involved with the startup ecosystem. And India today has about 171 corporates who are deeply engaged. There are many others who do mentoring and other things on a lighter way, but deeply involved has a very specific meaning, and over 170 are involved. And the last is that 41% of the total number of startups, which is 38,000 to begin with today, are from tier 2 and tier 3 cities of India. And tier 3 cities means they're really small towns. And therefore it shows that this entire monopoly that large institutions had about new ideas and startups and all that is completely broken. Almost half of the new ideas and startups today are coming from cities that do not even have IITs and IIMs. So this is the big picture. The second point I want to make is there are 5 major sectors where growth is taking place in the startups currently. They are medtech and health tech because of the pandemic, which have got a very serious boost during the last year. We have edtech, which has gone online. We have agri-tech, and we have software as a service, SaaS. Then the banking, finance and insurance sectors, the e-commerce companies, and the last sector that has done exceptionally well is gaming and media entertainment. The third point I want to make under startups is that it's a huge opportunity that is opening up. India is a high growth country. If you look around growth countries, even the OECD countries, they're all growing at 0.5%, 1%. India will grow back to at 10% in this coming year. This year we will go minus because of the pandemic, but we are going to recover in such a way that we would be at the same level of the pandemic by March of next year, that is 2022. It's a young, it's a young nation. And as we are opening up the economy, as we are doing reforms and deregulations in several areas, including industry, where we have redefined the MSME, the reforms in agriculture, reforms in labor, banking, energy, healthcare, we have Ayush, we have Atmanirbhar Bharat, and I think the indigenous manufacturing program has got a huge boost with the PLI scheme in 13 sectors, including defense, manufacture of household appliances, aerospace, chemicals, APIs, pharmaceuticals, handicrafts, toys industries, electronic industries. Electronics, I want to share a data with you. This PLI scheme has now got commitments of receiving 10.5 lakh crores in new investments with an export commitment of 6.5 lakh crores over the next 4 years in order to avail of the benefits. Just one sector, electronics, and then we have about 13 other sectors that have got similar incentives. Then we also have a new model of development, which is cooperative federalism in the government, where the states have to compete amongst themselves in order to get more reforms and get larger funds from the government of India. And what I see now is that in the last 6 months, there is particularly a new respect for privatization, for creating people who create wealth, and a new respect and a new mantra which says being rich is also good. There is a drive towards privatization, which I think has got a new boost under Modi this year in this new budget. There are new privacy laws, and somehow you see a new India, a young India, asserting its new national priorities in all international forums and against all other MNCs who want to do business with India with our national priorities. The fourth point, what I want to make about the startup system, which is what Shraddha asked me to focus on, is that this new ecosystem that has started is one of the best in the world today. We have 521 active incubators and accelerators across India. We have registered 7,200 mentors. We have 4,000 angel investors. And the whole concept, which was just MSME for so many years, has now given way to the new concept of startups. Even the time to create unicorns, which was 17 years when Infosys became a unicorn, which is a 7,000 crore company, has been reduced to a minimum of 3 years, which was the new company started by InMobi, but to an average of 5.5 years to have a market valuation of $1 billion, which is 7,500 crores. The AI, the machine learning, the IoT, the data science-led productivity improvement is a reality. And the learning and tech-enabled enterprises, which is part of the SaaS SaaS enterprises, is growing at 26% per year growth today. And there are various forces of development, which is actually giving a lot of impetus for startup development. There is the Digital India program, the High Infrastructure program, the ban on defense items, which is worth 35,000 crores, which has given a huge boost to Indian industry. The Chinese apps have been banned and the social media is now getting more and more local. We have the government e-procurement site GEM, and it has improved the access and transparency to all companies, including MSMEs who are doing a lot of business on this new website. And remember, friends, all tenders under the size of 200 crores, and this is a very large amount in India, are now to be procured only with Indian suppliers were located within India. All in all, these particular developments are actually giving a lot of business that is otherwise coming from abroad and meeting our domestic requirements. However, there are a few challenges that our startups are also facing and the ecosystem is facing. And that is, number one, we still have a lot of copycats. We have a lot of low technology, low R&D companies. We are low on R, which is low on research, but more on D, which is application. and we are more on services and less on product development. And we have little breakthrough innovations that have gone global from India, but this is also changing. Just day before yesterday, NASSCOM launched a deep tech club. And in that, when we saw the profile of all the people that have joined them, 76 of them, so many of them are so promising with such brilliant ideas that I think a new India has been born, which is not going to remain content with only value addition, but actually they are going to have breakthrough innovations again. There are also this new dimension of the startup ecosystem that has happened, and that is the international dimensions. Today, we have about 11 countries in the world, and their ecosystems of startups are deeply connected to our Indian startup ecosystem, whether it is Sweden, Denmark, and Finland from the Scandinavian countries, whether it is UK, where I'm the chairman of the UK India Tech Exchange Program for startups, or there is Portugal, and there is Germany, and there is Spain, and so on and so forth. This is a new dimension that allows many of our startups who have global ambitions to actually get facilitated going abroad, just the same way an incubator helps them to find money and market in the domestic markets. In terms of funding, all the big venture capital and angel funding companies of the whole world, except the Chinese, are all located within India. And these are the ones who have contributed the largest portion of the 11 to 12 billion dollars, which is close to 1 lakh crores of investment that goes into startups every year. And now I want to come to one of the big drivers of startups this year, and that is the platform technologies. Remember, friends, government started the UPI payment platform. Do you know how many unicorns have been created on top of this platform? There are 4 of them already. And there are more than almost another 4 companies with more than 3,000 crore turnover. The companies that are now become unicorns based on the UPI platform that the government of India created include PhonePe, includes Paytm, and includes the Indian arm of Google Pay and other companies. Similarly, now the government of India is now developing about 9 additional platforms, and each platform is going to develop lots of unicorns and lots of new startups. These new platforms are the digital health platform, the agrotech platform, the education platform, which will include all schools and colleges, both public, private, and government on that platform. There are a lot of new Aadhaar-based opportunity platforms that are being created and spun off from the mother platform. Then the GSTN, which is the tax database of the GST taxes, are also going to be made available in a sandbox for all our startups. And this will again open up a huge number of possible clientele for our startups. The GEM website, which has also been a very big successful story. There is going to be a logistics startups that will give all the multimodal institutions and the operators and the warehouses across the country on a single platform. And then the entire national justice system with all the courts of all the 4 levels are going to be on a single platform, whereby you'll be able to trace transparently what is happening with which judge and what is the status of each particular case, whether it is a judicial case or an arbitration case going on across India. And I think there is a huge market that will open up for startups in this all in all. And therefore, I think my first session, which was about 8 minutes, is over now. And I conclude with this. And I start with my second half of the talk, and which is about alumni. I'm so happy to see so many faces gathered today. There are 78 now and growing by the minute. And I really must compliment all of you, because you are a very big resource for the Institute. And similarly, you will also be able to gain a lot from the Institute. But what we really need to talk and think about together, because this is something peculiar to the culture of each institution and the people who constitute it, as to how do you want to engage meaningfully with your institution. There are many areas of engagement. For example, you can do projects for the young, you can take interns, you can look after the industrial visits, you can help them with training programs, which are high-level programs. You can help the students with placements. The alumni can help with giving lectures, both online and offline. You can come and share your success stories of your enterprise and of your personal life and inspire the young. You can do some financial support and philanthropy for the EDI. You can help in brand building for EDI. You can do social support. And this is one area where I have found very useful for our Pan IIT Alumni Association. And that we are running it across the country in all these 28 states. And that is a program called Swagat. So what happens is when a person from an IIT comes into a state after he gets a placement, he gets connected to the Pan IIT alumni network of that state. And we call this program Swagat. In Swagat, he is then connected to the people that are coming from their own institute. We have today about 15, 16 IITs, but this individual will be connected with an alumni of his own institute inside this particular state or the city that he is operating in. And then he is helped with accommodation, he is helped with children's education, getting admissions, getting a house, and all the rest of it. And this program has been very successful. It actually brings a lot of practical value. And then, of course, they talk about which hostel and which room and which teacher, and all the stories begin, as you all know, as alumni. And it's great fun to bond, especially when the number of years have gone that are very, very different. There is another area of collaboration between the alumni and the institute, and that is contribution to publications, contributions to essay. And as Shuklaji was mentioning, a lot of policy work is being done. And the alumni is a great resource for all the policy work that the institute is doing at various levels, whether it is the local government, the state government, or the national government. And in case of Shuklaji, he is also doing a lot of international with the United Nations agencies. Now, alumni can be a great support for this policy work. We in Pan IIT alumni have also done some city development projects. For example, we have taken circles, traffic circles in various cities and called it the Pan IIT alumni circles. They are funded by the local industry bodies, run, industry members who are members also from ex-IIT, and they work with the local municipal corporation. And it brings a certain amount of visibility. In Gujarat, we have in Surat, and we have in Baroda. And in various other states, we have similar different kinds of projects that helps to beautify the city and brings the alumni in the visibility and in the forefront of the citizen development work. The other area which has now emerged and which is very interesting, and at EDI you may like to really explore, is when corporates are hiring, then employee referral actually becomes very important because it reduces the cost of hiring. It's a much faster process. It is a lot cheaper. And once people come through the system, then they tend to stay longer in jobs. So for example, there is a company like Anuraya Organics, and Vinod is here, and he's hiring people. He gets a lot of biodatas for a particular job. And there where he sees EDI, immediately he asks his own employees in his own organization, do you know these people in EDI? And 2 or 3 of them will say, yes, I can easily find out more about him. They get in touch with the individual, they talk to the professors because they have this connect. And that employee referral then makes it even more comfortable for the person to join. It is very cost effective, and the alumni is doing an excellent job. And as numbers increase, which I'm sure will increase, today you said that you are 1600, and soon you will become, in IIT Delhi, where I come from, we are about 60,000. And you can imagine the kind of referral systems that this becomes. It's extremely important, and it creates very good value for engaging both the industry as well as the alumni. The critical thing here is, how do you engage your alumni in a manner that creates value for the alumni as well as for the institute? And I want to share a few some pointers, because these are pointers that work. They don't work everywhere, and that is why all of you need to sit down and deliberate upon it as to what you find interesting to engage with it. The number one point is that there has to be, we are all, whenever we think about our alma mater, there is a feeling of belonging. And, in addition to the feeling of belonging with the institutions, we all have our few close relationships, whether when you have stayed together or whether you are in the same batch together or you have done projects together, so on and so forth. And there are very old fond memories. And therefore, what we have done in Pan IIT Alumni is we have specific nostalgia sessions where people just come to discuss and share all their memories. And it is normally followed with spouses. Spouses also join if they are married. So we allow both spouses and spice both to come for these get-togethers. And then we normally wind up with a nice meal after that. And this nostalgia session, which is a very good binding force, actually gets strengthened in a structured manner. Normally, most alumni, there are a few events and get-togethers. There is online tambola, and a lot of social evenings and picnics and crickets and all this. But friends, basically this dies over a little bit of time. The old nostalgia then slowly fades away. Old memories remain, but there is no sustained value that is being created. And this is usually a problem of most of the alumni that we are associated with, because there is no new engagement. And the alumni and the institute always feels that the alumni will engage completely free and will devote as much time as is required for the institute's activity. But the reality is that this does not happen. And why should an alumni get involved and spend actually a number of hours a week or a month for the institute when he's now quite busy doing his own work? For how long will he be able to do this? And how deeply will he be able to do this? And how deeply is he willing to be committing himself for this? And therefore, you really need to develop a strategy for how to engage, and how to make it how to create worth for the alumni's time. What does an alumni get in return other than the fact that he has a sentiment for it? And I think there are a few pointers in this direction. One of the things we have tried is to give a token amount for every engagement that has worked. It has worked in some people. Most of the people say we do not want these small amounts of money. It really doesn't matter. What is more important is recognition. If you recognize us as for our introductions and for our contributions, then that is far more important than the 1,000, 2,000 rupees, whether they are a jury in a particular platform or they come and spend half a day looking at faculty recruitment and so on and so forth. There are many areas of engagement. If the institute is able to give prestige to the alumni, or by bringing them as chief guests or as speakers or as discussants in panel discussions, and in the newsletter of the institute there are pictures of alumni who have actually done their contribution, and they are invited to the various government meetings, the policy views are being taken care of, and they are involved in the recruitment of faculty as for suggestions as well as jury, then it makes them feel nice. And in all these areas, it is the principal role of the director of the institute as well as the senior faculty to really make it happen. Even if you mention an alumni, they mention his name for his contribution at the annual day, if you invite them all at the convocations and you take the trouble of visiting them personally whenever you visit the city, understand their company's activities, understand their roles, and discuss with them how do they want to engage with EDI, then I think this will give birth to a whole set of new ideas, which then has to be done in a very systematic way. I would encourage you in everything to generate and give gratitude for all the support that the alumni is giving. Please do not take them for granted, because otherwise it becomes a very short-term engagement. There are a few pointers that are available in the literature in terms of how to engage alumni very effectively. And I would urge you to look at the World Economic Forum's model. I came across it being a curator there some years ago as to how to build and sustain social communities. And that is a wonderful framework under which, if you need to operate, there are many pointers, many suggestions that the alumni can discuss and shortlist a few of what agrees with them. The second book has been written by Bakchi, and that's also a very good book. And there are 2 or 3 major books that are available in international literature called Building Social Communities that you will find on Amazon. And these are very systematic ways in which you can, actually engage with faculty in a very meaningful way. So faculty and alumni together. And I think there are a few other things that your technology is there to support you. WhatsApp groups are there. App Alumni Connect groups are there. Once, if every alumnus, 1,600 of your alumnus at least visits the institute once in a year, then you have a very live alumnus who will actually be able to contribute continuously and be engaged with you. And there should be an alumnus newsletter which talks a little bit about the message of the director and the developments in the institute. And it focuses mainly on all the achievements and whatever is happening with the alumnus as they have gone through their lives after leaving the institute itself. I want to conclude now by saying that alumni are a huge asset. It needs a full-time support from the institute at EDI with a tailor-made strategy to target and engage with the alumni very effectively. People have called it the smash and grab technology to ensure that the alumni institute relationship becomes as umbilical as it was when all of you are at your alma mater earlier. Thank you so much.